Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to dive right in and uncover the real, historically verified story behind America's absolute most infamous, heavily guarded desert facility. I mean, for decades now, this place has completely captured the global imagination, perfectly blending science fiction with some extremely top-secret national security. It all boils down to this one simple question, right? But think about it. This single inquiry has fueled literally decades of wild speculation, endless conspiracy theories, and massive Hollywood blockbusters. What exactly is the government doing out there in the middle of absolutely nowhere, where if you trespass, you're immediately met with signs threatening deadly force? To see just how out of control this speculation has gotten, we only have to look back to the summer of 2019. Maybe you remember this. A college student named Maddie Roberts created a Facebook event, totally as a prank, called Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us. He actually suggested people gather at 3 a.m. and use the Naruto run to dodge bullets. Obviously, it was a joke, but the internet? Well, they took it entirely seriously. And as his quote perfectly captures, the myth quickly overwhelmed reality when the literal FBI arrived at his front door. Now, to put the sheer logistical absurdity of this whole thing into perspective, get a load of these numbers. Over 2 million people RSVP'd to storm a highly classified military base located in a completely desolate wasteland. 2 million. Meanwhile, the closest town, a tiny, tiny village called Rachel, had a total population of exactly 54 people, no gas stations for miles, and summer temperatures out there easily top 40 degrees Celsius. It was a recipe for total chaos. Okay, let's move on to Section 1, the Great UFO Craze. To actually understand that 2019 meme, we really have to travel all the way back to where this massive cultural obsession started. Picture this. It's late June 1947. And a pilot named Kenneth Arnold reports seeing 9 incredibly fast, shiny UFOs. Fast forward just a couple of weeks, and a man named Mac Brazel finds this weird debris, tinfoil, rubber, thin wooden beams, scattered in his New Mexico field. He takes it to the local sheriff. The very next day, the Army astonishes everyone by releasing a statement claiming they recovered a literal flying disc. But then, just 24 hours later, they frantically backtrack and claim it was merely a weather balloon. Well, as you can imagine, that incredibly rapid and clumsy retraction was the spark that lit the whole fire. By the late 1970s and 80s, the Roswell incident had exploded into an enduring, massive mythology. Rumors spread like wildfire. People were saying living aliens were discovered in the crash, that extraterrestrial bodies were locked up, and that the U.S. Army was actively reverse engineering alien tech. And the purported location for all this highly classified activity? You guessed it, a top-secret base known as Area 51. All right, Section 2, the Area 51 phenomenon. So these rumors didn't just stay on the fringes of society, they broke right into mainstream pop culture. And a lot of that is thanks to a few people claiming to be insiders. In 1989, this guy Bob Lazar publicly claimed he worked at Area 51 reverse engineering alien spacecraft. It was a huge story. He famously said these crafts were powered by something called Element 115, which supposedly created an anti-gravity field. But let's look at the actual science here. Element 115, which we now call moscovium, wasn't even successfully synthesized by scientists until 2003. And guess what? It produces absolutely zero gravity field. Oh, and it was also later revealed that Lazar completely fabricated his educational background at MIT. But honestly, despite the complete lack of scientific backing, the myth stuck around, eventually culminating in that massive Storm Area 51 event we talked about. Now, ultimately, only about 6,000 people actually showed up, and it turned into a pretty peaceful alien-themed desert festival rather than a full-scale invasion. But it definitely wasn't cheap. The local sheriff reported that managing the security for this internet prank cost a truly staggering $300,000. So it begs the question, if this place wasn't a hub for captured alien spacecraft, what exactly was it? Which brings us to Section 3, Top Secret Cold War Reality. Okay, it's time to pull back the curtain and reveal the historically verified real-world purpose of Area 51. Back in the 1950s, the Cold War was really heating up. America was gripped by this intense fear of Soviet nuclear capabilities and communist infiltration. President Eisenhower desperately needed eyes in the sky. As author Annie Jacobson has noted, the CIA scoured the country and found this perfectly isolated spot, a vast dry lake bed in Nevada called Groom Lake. This remote patch of dirt was folded right into the massive 12,000 square kilometer Nevada test and training range. The truth is, Area 51 wasn't built to hide aliens. It was built to hide America's absolute most cutting-edge military technology. It became the birthplace of the CIA's high-altitude reconnaissance program. They poured a massive $22 million budget into developing the U-2 spy plane, this incredible aircraft that could fly undetected for nearly 5,000 kilometers. And when a U-2 was eventually shot down over the Soviet Union in 1960, the folks at Area 51 just went back to the drawing board to develop an even faster, far more secretive replacement, the legendary SR-71 Blackbird. Moving into Section 4, Explaining the Unexplained. So now we know what was actually flying around the Nevada desert. Let's connect the dots here and see how these heavily classified Cold War spy planes literally created the UFO phenomenon we've been talking about. This comparison really breaks down the core of the misunderstanding. While your normal passenger aircraft cruises somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 meters, the U-2 flew at 21,000 meters. And the SR-71 Blackbird? It soared at an unbelievable 26,000 meters, hitting speeds up to 3,400 kilometers per hour. Literally no one had ever seen anything fly that high or go that fast. Now, let's walk through how this created the ultimate visual illusion. Just imagine you're standing on the ground at dusk. The sun goes down and the sky around you turns completely dark. But way, way up at 26,000 meters, these highly reflective, really unconventional-looking spy planes are so high up they're actually still catching the sun's rays. So from your perspective down on the ground, you're looking up into a pitch-black sky and seeing a glowing, impossibly fast object rocketing overhead. Honestly, if you didn't know top-secret spy planes existed, you'd probably think it was a flying saucer too. And here is the real kicker. The CIA realized exactly what was happening and they leaned right into it. They never actively denied the UFO rumors because honestly, the flying saucer hysteria was the absolute perfect cover story. I mean, think about it. If the American public, and far more importantly, Soviet spies, thought these sightings were just crazy UFO fanatics seeing aliens, well, no one would suspect America was out there testing revolutionary military aircraft. It was a brilliant misdirection. And that strategy of silence and misdirection, it explains the famous Roswell incident perfectly. Fast forward to 1994, and the U.S. Air Force finally revealed that the bizarre tinfoil and wood debris found all the way back in 1947 was actually from something called Project Mogul. This was a highly classified project that used high-altitude balloons equipped with microphones to detect sound waves from distant Soviet nuclear tests. The government's incredibly clumsy cover-up of this specific spy tech is literally what accidentally birthed the entire alien conspiracy. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the modern era of UAPs. So, what is going on today? Well, if we shift our focus from historical Cold War cover-ups to the present, we are actually in an era of surprising government transparency. The walls of absolute secrecy have slowly come down, in large part thanks to Freedom of Information Act requests. In 2013, the CIA finally, officially acknowledged that Area 51 actually exists. In 2017, they declassified 13 million pages of documents. By 2020 and 2021, the Pentagon was actually authenticating leaked aerial videos and releasing thousands of additional records to the public. It seems the era of total government denial is officially behind us. And with all this new transparency came a really crucial shift in terminology. The government has largely abandoned the term UFO. Why? Because it carries so much baggage. You instantly think of little green men and flying saucers. Instead, they use UAP, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. This subtle shift allows military pilots to scientifically report airborne anomalies they can't immediately explain, viewing them strictly through the lens of national security and hard sensor data, rather than jumping straight to science fiction. So, if military pilots are still seeing UAPs up there today, what exactly are they looking at? Well, while the sky definitely still holds a few mysteries, especially when sensor data is incomplete, experts generally agree on a few grounded explanations. Most of these sightings are highly classified next-generation military drones, advanced decoy flares, weird undocumented atmospheric anomalies, or potentially secret surveillance infrastructure deployed by other nations. Which brings us to our final, really fascinating thought for today. The truth of Area 51 might not involve extraterrestrials, but it is undeniably captivating. It is still a highly active, ongoing military facility. So, if they were flying the SR-71 Blackbird way back in the 1960s, a plane that, by the way, still holds speed records today, it totally begs the question, what incredible, highly classified, next-generation earthly technologies are they testing above that Nevada desert tonight? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this leaves you looking up at the sky with a whole new perspective. Catch you next time.